How's it going, everybody? So in this video, I wanted to touch a little bit more on something I discussed in a recent video where I was talking about interpreting other opinions, beliefs, and viewpoints. And in that video, I was making the case that it might actually be beneficial to entertain opinions or other people's claims or beliefs that you may assume are ignorant for a variety of reasons. But one of the biggest ones is that, generally speaking, all humans believe that their intelligence is more superior than others. And we generally point the finger at everybody else as being wrong and believe that we are the ones who are unconditionally correct for whatever reason. This is one of the very many cognitive biases that humans are just, for whatever reason, subjected to, and many philosophers and psychologists actually wonder if it's even possible for us to transcend beyond that, right? And we attempt to, but even the great powers of science are highly subjected to the mercy of the fact that there's still a high degree of subjectivity involved in interpreting scientific evidence. The majority of people who assume that science is, especially regarding human health, nutrition science, exercise science, and things like that, and human physiology, people who believe that that's, about proving things, or it's objective, or it's a hard science, or this or that, they're generally not entirely accurate. They probably don't understand the scientific method and how evidence is generated and what the purpose of using science for these purposes actually even is. So if even science is highly subject to subjectivity, and it's required subjective judgment and opinions and interpretations of the evidence in the realm of science, how do we know that we are not the stupid ones, if that makes sense, right? And so it's always important to be open to the possibility that you might be wrong or you might be incorrect, okay? So the big thing that I think I might have gone wrong in that discussion previously is I think I kind of suggested that all opinions and any opinions are worthy of being entertained, or something to that degree, right? Hopefully that's not the way that people interpret it, but it's important to always kind of consider the possibility that you might be missing something, or you might be being biased, for example, or you might be making judgments of other opposing beliefs or positions on a scientific topic or something from a place of arrogance or just a place of bias, okay? Anyway, the big thing I want to get across in this video is that it's also important to understand that, most people don't have enough time to critically examine every opinion that they come across, okay? And I've found, being a YouTube educator, we'll call myself, right? And also just working as in the health and fitness profession for so long, but especially on YouTube, you will get an awful lot of people kind of making comments or making absolute statements, and a lot of times being kind of overly emotional about these things, or being so certain about something that is generally found to be preposterous. You come to realize that there really are certain people that just might not be coming from the right, it's not grounded in the right kind of experience, if that makes sense. To put it lightly. On the internet, to be straightforward, you never know who you're talking to. It's pretty common, actually, for even these like giant like YouTube influencers to be found out later on that, you know, they were using fake weights, like when we're talking about exercise science, some of the most credible people there, or maybe they were found out to be taking steroids, but they claim natural, and they were giving out exercise programming advice for natural people, or they lie about the types of clients that they train. Also, people in the comment section on YouTube, like a large majority of them are completely anonymous, and they could be middle school students, like, you know, 13 years old or something, in which case obviously their mind could possibly be matured. I mean, I don't like to use age as a barometer for intelligence or mental maturity or something, but you know, you could be talking to someone with the mind of like an elementary school student. Like, you don't know who you're talking to. So or they may just legitimately have some type of mental illness or something to that degree. And you'll find that there's a lot of, obviously a lot of YouTubers that seem to maybe have delusions, we could just say, but especially like comments. Either they're possibly trolls, or legitimately they need to go and see a psychologist, right? I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about. So it's just important to have a extreme kind of sense of discernment when you're navigating the other people's perceptions and things, right? But the problem here, and I don't think there's really a simple solution to this, is your own perception of other people's perspectives and perceptions, and your own discernment of intelligence is entirely limited by the box in which your intelligence exists, okay? So as an individual, you can only interpret intelligence and perspectives and right or wrong from your own personal, individual, specific frame of reference. That's what it is. Kind of like Einstein said, everything is relative. And so what that means is intelligence, I guess, seems to be in the eye of the beholder, but in reality there's some objective measures we could probably use to judge intelligence. And so with that in mind, you have to understand even the most intelligent people in the room are going to have disagreements. I've oftentimes in my videos talked about how it's very common, like you have like 100 different PhD level nutritionists or dietitians or whatever, PhDs in nutrition and dietetics, and they might all have different perspectives on like first and foremost, the most common one, what a healthy human diet is. So obviously you'll have 50 different, you might have like 10 different nutritionists that are plant-based, 10 different that are meat-based, 10 that are omnivore, and then another 10 that's like, I don't know, like Ray Peat dieters or some shit like that. Well, anyway, within those groups, you also have serious disagreements, okay? Within the plant-based group, a fraction of those plant-based PhD nutritionists are going to be vegan, and then a fraction of them might be vegetarian. Within the vegan PhD community, they have extreme disagreements on B12 supplementation, vitamin D, omega-3, omega-6 supplementation, and then how much your diet should be like raw greens versus cooked grains or something. Whether or not you can live on potatoes alone, like Dr. John McDougall used to say, kind of talk about, not that he advocated that. But anyway, this is very, very common. And you see this in like these carnivore diet communities with these doctors. Some of them tell you need organs. Others say you don't need organs at all. Some of them they advocate the same exact diet, like meat only, and then drink water. But one fraction of them say, oh, you need to supplement salt. The other one might say salt is toxic. It's a rock. You're not supposed to eat that. And then within the ones that agree on, meat only, no organs, you don't need salt, supposedly salt is toxic, then even within those people, you have disagreements around how much protein to fat you should eat. Or should you just follow your hunger signals, right? Should you do intermittent fasting? Then within the paleo diet community, like I could just go on and on. The paleo diet community, some of them believe that you can eat potatoes. Some of them believe you need to go mostly ketogenic with a little bit of berries, right? Some of them believe dairy is okay. Some of them believe salt is healthy or important or at the very least acceptable. Others, like Dr. Lauren Cordain, says absolutely zero salt. So, yeah, within the PhD communities, there's a large degree of variance as well. So the discussion isn't even about someone being stupid or not intelligent or something to that degree, and people will wrongfully claim that just because you went through and got a PhD doesn't mean that you're intelligent or something. But the fact of the matter is so it depends, obviously. Like if you're actually went through a real PhD program at a university and you didn't do some like kind of bootleg internet-based program from a university no one's heard of, to go through a program like that does require you're in the top, the top at the very least mental capabilities to go through an extensive, demanding program like that. So anyway, I'm just throwing it out there that it's not even a matter of intelligence. And so I just think what the real problem probably is number one, like understanding that all humans are going to have differing opinions, and that's okay. The problem is when people start to get emotional about it and they start attacking with name calling and or even if they're not attacking with name calling, but they're getting very like emotionally charged by the subject. And I suppose it depends on what we're talking about here. In some cases I can understand, like with vegans, they really believe that like eating animals is immoral and you're paying people to kill the animals, and it goes down a rabbit hole that I went down when I was vegan. But they lack the empathy required, like true empathy, to truly understand, why someone might, or the reality that someone might be living believing the opposition. But that's a really hard kind of thing to get into, really. As a vegan, it can be very hard to understand why a meat eater might be, go from believing that eating meat is not good or it is not moral, and then becoming a meat eater and believing that it absolutely is not immoral. And anyway, so being emotionally charged, at least for me, I would rather try to seek first to understand before trying to be understood, and try to understand where they're coming from. And so I think this is where the power lies, because like the big thing is how much time do we have, and this is a big thing that I kind of came to, is like, what is the purpose of even engaging with certain people? What is the purpose? What is the benefit that we get out of discussing things with other people? Mostly, especially in regards to like online discussions, especially if it's anonymous. So for me personally, I prefer to have discussions in person. But I actually notice in-person discussions tend to be, it just depends on the person really. Tends to be more emotionally charged for me, at least. I don't think I ever get worked up emotionally over the internet these days. Like hardly at all, even with people that I do know in real life. Even over like real personal things where people are, trying to like, hurt me or something. I don't know. It doesn't really bother me as much, but even in person a lot of times. But it depends on what it's about. Oftentimes what kind of gets me emotionally charged is, I don't know, like someone who makes they come to a certain, like people who think that I care if I'm bald, for example. Like, it's kind of dumb, like, because like people might comment like, yeah, he's freaking bald. You're bald. You don't know anything about health or nutrition or something because you're bald. It means you're unhealthy or something, right? And just the blindness of that person, that that they don't see that maybe being bald is genetic DHT polymorphism, and it doesn't have anything to do with nutrition. And maybe it kind of does, right? But even worse than that is like when people think that my feelings would be hurt. Like, to me, I recognize, well, what would make somebody assume that calling someone bald, something that I already know, I see every day, and I have for the last decade or whatever. I know I'm bald, and girls like it, so it's like, what do I have to worry about me being bald? Literally, the only person who ever mentions like that I'm bald in a negative way is some random anonymous person on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember the last time somebody in person or somebody like even on Facebook like that has like used that as an insult to me, right? It's been years, right? But anyway, like, that's just an example of to like legitimately it makes me wonder like how people, like, it boggles my mind how some people can have such a low frame of reference, if that makes sense. But the empathy, my putting myself in that person's shoes, I have to kind of think about what would make somebody want, assume that that's like actually worth caring about, right? And so for me, I recognize that person probably overly emphasizes physical appearance, and they're probably think, man, if I was bald, I'd be like completely insecure, and that would totally be something I would care a lot about in a negative way, is what they're probably thinking. And so it's more of a reflection of their own insecurities and their own attachment to looks, right? Because they live in a reality where looks are extremely important, and they expect other people to care about their looks. But the thing is, I am living basically from a different frame of reference, if we're trying to be accurate here. I'd rather say a different reality, because it really is like living a different reality. I literally don't care that I'm bald, first and foremost. And my appearance, as long as I'm presentable for my clients and stuff like that, you know what I mean, keeping things looking at least half decent or whatever, I'm more focused on the value that I can bring to people. I'm more focused on how many people I can help, the quality of my information, the quality of my energy. But the fact that, these other people, they're coming from this shallow, superficial frame of reference, and because that's their reality, that being bald is significant, being bald is like worthy of bullying of some kind. To me, that is just hilarious. And so, my previous video, I was basically making the case that you should, not assume that because someone else believes something different than you that they're stupid. And I think that that's valid, but I also think it depends on what we're talking about here. And I don't like the word stupid. I think it's lazy. So if you listen to kind of how I interpret a supposedly stupid comment, like, come on, that's pretty dumb, honestly. Like, you're bald, you freaking bald guy. Like, screw you because you're bald, right? Like, who does that, man? Like, I think that's worthy of using the word stupid, because it's like, it's an intellectually lazy comment to make. It doesn't have any meaning or whatever. But anyway, the big thing here though is, if I'm going to entertain something like that, I'm gonna analyze it in a way that provides benefit to my mind, and try to understand it so that, because like, what else is gonna happen? Either you ignore it or you like get angry about it or something, right? I don't know, but for me, like, there's a lot of psychological relief for me to try, like, things that would normally annoy other people or irritate other people, or if it does irritate me, I find, because there's certain things that do irritate me, but that doesn't irritate me. But like, understanding why someone would do something really helps release the resistance in your mind. So, but anyway, like, being open to the possibility that you're wrong. So like, the other thing is like carnivore diets and whatnot. So, first of all, I don't advocate carnivore diets. I kind of, follow a mostly meat diet most of the time. But I definitely don't like tell people that's a necessity or anything of that nature, right? But it's very eye-opening when you start to realize that you can live like decades eating nothing but meat, and literally reverse your health problems in the first couple of years, and just seemingly get healthier and healthier as time goes on, with no vitamin C supplementation, no carbohydrates, and then even athletic performance comes back, and then you start to notice you have endless endurance after a period of time adapting to a lower carb diet. Not to say that anyone needs to do that, but the thing that's really interesting about that, relevant to this conversation, how many experts do you know, like nutritionists or whatever, that look at the carnivore diet and think of how stupid the carnivore diet is, and they automatically just kind of write it off as being stupid, okay? And I'll tell you this, that's one of my biggest gripes with Liver King, for example, is that Liver King, for one, he is definitely on steroids. Number two, he admitted that he has fake ab implants, and I think his wife does too, but I don't want to say anything like that. But like, he admitted to having ab implants, and you can tell now that he admitted it, and it kind of makes him look less steroid looking, But anyway, beyond that, there's a lot of kind of issues in the way he presents the ancestral living information. For example, how he drives like in a Range Rover or whatever it is. I don't really watch a lot of Liver King shit, honestly, but he kind of, in a way, it's a double-edged sword. He's promoting the ancestral living to where more people are kind of like able to benefit from it, but he's also a very easy target. And so you have a lot of like health experts that pick on Liver King as an example, like a major reflection of like carnivore diets and paleo diets and shit. So now he's like the face of like the paleo sphere. And so the whole like paleo and carnivore movement gets kind of looked at with ridicule and as if, oh, like freaking paleo? You mean like, it's just, it's stupid and blah, blah, blah. So you have to understand that, like, when you are arguing with vegans, for example, because I don't think vegans are stupid. I think veganism, there's a lot of reasons why people kind of like make the jump to such a ideology, but a lot of them, they are trying to take conscious control of their health and trying to take conscious control of ethics and trying to make the world a better place in their mind, right? A lot of people, they get caught up in like, oh, veganism is this or that, or it's bad, or you're mean, or you're this or you're that, or whatever. But they fail to kind of look at what's more important, right? Anytime you're trying to interpret someone else's beliefs or opinions, or just trying to communicate, you have to try to understand not what do they believe, but why did they get into that in the first place? What caused them to get into there? Like their intentions, right? The intentions are important. And so a lot of like carnivore people have these emotional, dogmatic type of reactions to vegans because maybe they were vegan at one point and it destroyed their health. And so now they're like traumatized by veganism, and now they dogmatically oppose it, right? Going the complete opposite. Or else they just know that a lot of vegans are dogmatic and pushy and, seemingly a little on the edge, extreme, right? But that's not representative of all vegans. And again, it's like, where's that person coming from? So if I'm talking to a vegan person, like I've dated vegan girls, for example, and I'm not going to get too deep in that. Vegan girls, I have a weird kind of attraction to vegan girls. I don't know why. I do know why, but anyway. But the thing is, those girls that I was dating, the big thing that made me interested was understanding why is it that they got into veganism and what led them there, and then also to try to, like, at the very least open them up to, people like me who was vegan but legitimately could not be vegan physically due to health reasons because of the foods that needed to be my staples my body was rejecting. Everyone knows whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds were a huge major cause or trigger of my IBS and psoriasis. But anyway, but the thing is, why is it that I follow this diet? For health reasons. And then even if you take it beyond that, I do believe that there are some major health benefits from this style of eating. And I'm not carnivore, by the way. I fluctuate. But so, I'm into it for a variety of reasons. But the other thing is, why are they into it, right? And so a lot of these girls that I've dated that were vegans, I've only dated like a handful of vegan girls. A lot of them, they're, fresh out of, they're like, at the time, they're like 19, 20. They're in college or whatever, or getting into college, and they're into, like making positive social changes. That's what it is. And they're trying to make the world a better place. And so when they kind of like, would try to debate me on topics. For me, I'm just highly passionate about these topics and then the information. Like, I love the information is really what it is. I'm very passionate about listening to information, discussing information, analyzing information. And these girls, they're very passionate about, like, trying to change the world, trying to make the world, the food supply more sustainable, and also trying to reverse diseases because, they think animal products contribute to disease and this and that. But not all of them. Some of them admitted that, keto diets, for example, could be very therapeutic for things like type 2 diabetes, obesity, and epilepsy and mental disorders too. But of course, they're like, yeah, I tried like freaking plant-based keto, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, the intention is very important behind what these people are, why are they talking the way they are, why are they saying the things they are, etc. Why they believe what they believe. And so, there's certain belief systems, I don't want to get too deep into this, like religions and stuff like that people only believe because their parents believed it and they were basically born into it. And, there's a lot of psychological kind of phenomenons that kind of keep people in echo chambers and stuff. And so this actually molds the entire way that they see reality as well. So anyway, that to me is, I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of like believing in something because your surrounding influences believe it, you know. There needs to be a why, a cause, you know, like what, you know, deeper questioning. How valid is this? What's the evidence? How's it going to benefit me? Are there alternative beliefs, and what is the validity of those? But a lot of people, they just take what they're given. They take the beliefs that other people have given them. They take what the social media algorithms give them, the YouTube algorithms. My damn webcam went off. It's all nighttime. People are probably, oh, this dark atmosphere in Wolfgang's video tonight. Ooh. And yeah, and so like, and the algorithms can really mess people up. Like a lot of people that are into conspiracy theories, not to say they're all wrong or anything, but like you start watching one video about conspiracy theories on YouTube, then YouTube starts to suggest you all these other freaking conspiracy theory videos. And then in the comment section, it's all these other people that believe in these conspiracy theory videos. And on Facebook too, you're part of all these like conspiracy groups or whatever, and Reddit, you know, and it's like whatever you believe in, social media and YouTube will now continue to reinforce that echo chamber. And so it's very, very easy to become dogmatic and to be very militant about what you believe. And like, if you're, you know, really easily persuaded and susceptible to confirmation bias and these types of things, like you can literally convince yourself that the way that you're thinking is the only way. And so for me, it's not so much that you should, you know, like people who are legitimately off the mark, let's just say, that you should give them more credit than they're worth. I don't think that's a good thing. I think judgment and criticism is a valuable tool in human psychology. And in order for you to live an effective life and interact with society in an effective way, you have to be discerning and make critical judgments about other people, their beliefs, and their behaviors and things like that. But it's also important to be open to the possibility that you're wrong, and be aware of all the confirmation biases and the way the algorithms will feed you more reinforcement to your echo chamber and all these other things. And also be aware of how, like, you know, just be aware that also most humans and yourself, like, there's a tendency to negatively, to feel negative about other people, like to want to hate on other people because they believe something different than you. Be aware that that is not reality per se, like that they're not wrong just because they believe something different. And your kind of negative feelings, your knee-jerk reactions are not justified. Like, but when people start to kind of like give you, you know, immaturity and hatred and stuff like that in the comments, or in real life, someone is just like acting extremely hostility and stuff like that. That's not an intellectual trait. That's not a productive trait, a beneficial trait. It's not beneficial to them. They're not going to learn anything. They're not going to get their point across, and they're probably not operating from a productive mind frame either. And it's definitely not going to benefit you or society. So, like, you know, just slandering people or talking mean, talking down is not necessarily a beneficial thing. Although sometimes it can be entertaining, right? So, yeah, but damn it, I can't believe this. I skipped over this. So, like, well, it's talking about like the carnivore diets. It's like, how many times have you heard like someone write off like, oh, carnivore diet? No, you need vitamin C. Carnivore diet? No, you need fiber, shit like that. You know, you'll die if you eat only meat, you know? and you know, or like I remember seeing these videos of like this really hot Asian chick who used to like eat raw meat and raw, what was it? Octopus and stuff like that on YouTube, and all the comments were like talking about how dumb she is. She's going to get like parasites or something. And it's like, meanwhile, she's been doing that for like years and she's fine. There's a lot of other humans that do as well. And to me, it just is a reflection of how little other people have explored, if that makes sense. That's a better way to put it, right? You could say, oh, like how ignorant and unenlightened most people are. But no, I just think people just don't research things. They're not curious. They're not open. But they just like wrongfully assume things are stupid. And so just keep that in mind, like when you're judging like vegans or you're judging other religions or whatever. There's a lot of people who really believe that you're dumb when you might have some valid like reasons for why you eat the way you do and why you do the things you do. And to me, people in the carnivore community or the meat and fruit community or whatever, or even the powerlifting community, because people think lifting heavy weights is going to like injure you or something. Like, I just think it's interesting how the cognitive dissonance people have. Like they're like judging all these other people now. Like, yeah, like, plant-based people are dumb and this and that. And it's like, how many people, you used to think carnivore diet was dumb. How do you not realize that that's the major issue? It's like labeling things as dumb when you haven't fully explored them and understood them. Same thing with ketogenic diets. I have videos where I don't like to say it's this arrogant, but like I kind of school some of the greatest evidence-based nutritionists in our field right now, just on ketogenic metabolism, because they're trying to take cheap shots at it, and just pointing out really people they judge ketogenic metabolism using studies done on carbohydrate adapted athletes to try to judge keto's effects on performance, not kind of taken into consideration, like, I'm not going to get too deep in this video because unless you've watched those videos or read up on it, you probably wouldn't understand where I'm going with it. But basically, what you currently believe in your biases tremendously affects the way you interpret research and tremendously affects the way that you view other people's opinions. And so, at the very least, just being emotionally involved or using names and slanders and calling people stupid and really just highly ridiculing something just because you haven't heard good reasons for it before might not be a good idea. But I think there's some things that you just don't have time to kind of examine. And that's actually something I really want to get into. I'll get into in the next video, is like, what is the, when should we actually even like get into these heated discussions and why, right? But like, I think things like alkaline diets and even maybe there's something to that too, but like, I don't know. We'll get into that in the next video.